To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice to the councils of the nation. These were the words given by President Woodrow Wilson in November 1918, marking the initiations of Armistice Day, or Veterans Day. It wasn't until May 13th, 1938, under FDR's administration, that it became a legal holiday. It was originally put in place to honor the veterans of World War I, the war to end all wars, but switched to honor the veterans as a whole. It is still celebrated to this day, and for good reason. The veterans are the backbone of our nation, and oftentimes they don't get the recognition they deserve. But it's not necessarily the recognition they want. I had questions, so I took a trip down to Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania, and I sat down with 4 veterans from across the country. The following are the answers that I got. Starting off today, would you tell us a bit about yourself?
All right, my name is David LaFountain, and I was joined the Army in 1978, and I retired in 2011. So I did a total of 33 years in the Army. I did a little over 9 years in the infantry, airborne, and then I did the remainder of the time, 20-something years in Special Forces.
I'm Bill Francis, live in Wilmington, North Carolina right now. Work for Oak Grove, and I'm a veteran.
My name is Johnny Glenn. I'm from a little small town in Bainbridge, in Georgia, called Bainbridge, and I grew up there and joined the military when I was 18 years old and just retired about 2 years ago.
My name is Shane Manning. I grew up in Shamokin, Pennsylvania. After I graduated high school in 1998, I joined the Marine Corps. While I was in the Marine Corps, I was machine gunner, infantry, and one tour in Iraq. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me personally.
Why did you choose to serve?
You know, my grandfather served, my dad served, all my uncles. I just never thought about not serving. Just thought it was part of, you know, it's your duty, part of being American.
Well, you know, I grew up in a small town, sort of like some of the towns here in Pennsylvania, and there wasn't a whole lot going on there in the town. You know, you had a lot of factory work, and farmers and factories is basically what was in my little town. So I just wanted to get out and travel the world and do something different, and I saw the military as a way out, and that's how I ended up joining.
Can you tell me about your Army affiliation and history?
Yeah, my family was was mainly Marine Corps, and I guess the easiest way to put this is when I was in high school, just like many young men, they see posters and this and that, and there was a poster that I saw, which was of a Army Ranger with rappel rope around him and this and that and some other stuff, and so I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I did some research and then I joined up.
Came in the Army right out of high school, 1982, a few years back. I served 6 years, and then I got out of the service. I was in the Army with 5th Special Forces Group, and always knew I was gonna go to college, but figured there'd be time for that after I served, so that's how I did it. I went in as an enlisted man, got out as an E6 staff sergeant, and went to college, and after that joined the FBI. Spent 25 years with the Bureau.
Can you describe an interesting moment from boot camp?
One of my biggest moments in boot camp was, I think one of my tendencies was I would smile a lot, no matter what. If I got yelled at, I would smile. So going through boot camp, I remember one of my drill sergeants yelling at me one day, and I was smiling. And he said, "I tell you what, smile before you leave, or you're gonna be able to do 1,000 push-ups." So every time I got yelled at, or every time something happened, I would always smile. So I ended up having to do a lot of push-ups.
Man, boot camp seems like it was forever ago, but in the same time, sometimes I look back and it feels like it was just yesterday. One interesting thing at boot camp, I can remember just when we go on the ruck marches, right? It seemed far at the time, but then when we'd finished the ruck, you look back at the distance you covered and the weight you carried, and the guys that helped motivate you to get you through, and you were grateful that it was over. But in the same sense, you also then realize that that's only the beginning. And so looking back at boot camp, I can remember that they had like a 12-mile ruck was the minimum.
How were you able, if at all, to stay in touch with family and friends when you were away at combat?
When we were first in Kandahar in early 2000s, it was all satellite phones. You're lucky if you had access to one. So you'd talk on a satellite phone. There'd be a delay. Your spouse had to get used to that. Say something, then she had to wait, and then she'd say something. There was a delay. As the wars progressed and the technology got caught up with it overseas, you had emails. Eventually, you could do things like FaceTime or stuff like that. So nowadays, it's pretty easy to keep up. I think most soldiers and other Americans that are deployed overseas are, they're pretty much able to talk back home every day. So
a lot of times just social media, but we would have telephones, of course, like satellite phones we could use, and then they would set up what's called Morale, Welfare, and Support, MWR facilities, where we can go and actually they would have phones set up. You can call your family, but for the most part on our team, we'd always have a phone or some type of way we can communicate with family. But social media is so big now, you can do most of your stuff on social media.
How did you feel coming back from combat?
So when I got back from Iraq, definitely was culture shock coming back. The heightened sense of awareness wasn't there. For me it was, but for society it kind of just seemed like it was just normal humdrum life. And so there was always this excitement while you were there, even if in the downtimes you were still kind of nervous and on edge. But it was a weird kind of sensation coming back and not having that same surrounding people around you, having that same feeling as you. So I mean, you kind of felt kind of isolated a little bit, but in the same sense, I was glad to be home, and
I felt whenever it's a weird feeling, because when you come back, you always want to go back, but you always want to come back. Yeah. So, yeah, you're away from your family for a good considerable amount of time, whether it's 6, 8 months, 12 months, 15 months, and then you get to see your family. Obviously, you're always looking forward to that, right, and a little bit of a downtime. But then you're always anxious to get back into the fight, and I think most, if not all, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines would say the same thing.
Did you make some solid friendships that lasted through time, and can you elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I got friends that I met when I first joined the Army, and a lot of them, believe it or not, came from small towns, some from the city. Just depends, because everybody's got a different walk of life. But you meet friends that, they become friends from day one, and they're still friends now. And I call them more family than I do friends. If you call them, they're there. If they call you, you're there. So it's just something that it becomes a part of you from day one and probably till the day you die.
Bond you get?
Oh yeah, it's a bond you get, and it's something that you can't replace. You can't put words on it. You can't put a cost on it. You can't put a price on it. It's just a feeling, that knowing that people care,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I actually joined joined the military, as I said, right out of high school, and I joined with 2 of my best high school friends, and we're still friends to this day. Over the years, and in both the Army and in the Bureau later, I've made close friendships that have lasted 20, 30 years. So lifelong friends. It's those types of jobs. You're close. You depend on each other. Every day for everything. Survival and just being able to do your job. So you form a close bond with people.
How often do you get thanked for your service, and how does it make you feel?
People do thank me a lot, and I don't know that it's something that I look for. I appreciate it, but there's guys that are still doing that, and girls that are still doing that today. That it's not something that I typically want to be thanked for. I'm thankful somebody else had done it before. And so I just feel like for me, it just felt like it feels more of a duty to fulfill that and continue the legacy.
Well, it's one of those things that, you get thanked a lot, especially when people find out you're in the service or you're prior service. And to me, my personal opinion, I really don't even tell people I'm in the military. Sometimes they kind of look at you and kind of assume. But for the most part, for me, it's one of those things where I don't need thanks. You know, I think that this is the best country, the best nation in the world. So if you're gonna go serve this nation, that's enough thanks for me. And for me to see young kids, young adults, families, husband, wives, whoever, if they're living their lives to the fullest, that's enough thanks for me.
What does Veterans Day mean to you?
Well, it's a good celebration to remember, like Memorial Day, we're remembering our fallen. It's also a good day to think back on, reflection. It's a celebration of veterans, and so it's definitely a welcoming time, and you think back about your military career, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, it's a great holiday. For me personally, it's a chance to reflect on teammates and fellow veterans and people I served with, as well as all the generations that came before and served the country. And I think it gives Americans in general a chance to appreciate that aspect of our society and the people that actually go out and serve the country. So it's a great holiday.
Veterans Day means to me that it's a time to show, for me, the fallen, the thanks for the ultimate sacrifice that they made. For me, it's not for my personal opinion, it's not for the current veterans, because I feel like the ones that paved the way are the ones that went before us and the ones that made that ultimate sacrifice. So I think it's more in my heart, mind, and soul, it's for those guys that made that dedication, those guys that made that ultimate sacrifice for us to live free.
So Veterans Day to me is a time to remember those that I served with and those that are continually serving today. There's always someone deployed somewhere. So in order to keep that in our heads, Veterans Day is just a great reminder that there's always somebody paying the price for our freedom somewhere. And so that's how I remember Veterans Day.
And wrapping things up, if you had one solid message for everyone on this Veterans Day, what would it be?
I love my country. I served my country for a long time, and I would do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys coming out of high school, you have a great opportunity to do something, as I said, something to serve something greater than yourself. Might not be in the military, but the military is a good way to do that. Serve your country and also kind of figure out what you want to do with your life. There's a lot of good direct benefits too, like college tuition, stuff like that, and just what you learn in the military as far as being disciplined and accountable is a great lesson. If you choose not to do that, there's other ways that you can serve your community and go forth and do good things. So I'd highly recommend it.
The biggest message I would give the students on Veterans Day is just, do you have to think of vet? No, you do not. But what I would say is just live your life to the fullest. Like I said earlier, if you want to be a reporter, go be a reporter. You want to be an athlete, be an athlete, and then just stop sometimes and take that moment to think about how there are kids in other countries that wish they had the opportunities that you have. And your parents are trying to raise you in a way so that you can have a better life than what they have. So just sit back sometimes and say, hey, I'm thankful for these freedoms and these opportunities that I have. And if you decide to join the military, by all means do it. If you don't, that's great too. But whatever you do, hold yourself to a standard so you're good at it.
Yeah, so remember those that are serving. Keep those guys in your thoughts and prayers. Keep their families in their thoughts and prayers. And just remember that somebody's paying the price for our freedom today, even as we speak. So just remember that freedom is not free, and the price tag is pretty high.
We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The timing of this holiday is quite deliberate in terms of historical fact. But somehow it always seems quite fitting to me that this day comes deep in autumn, when the colors are muted and the days seem to invite contemplation. We're gathered at the National Cemetery, which provides a final resting place for the heroes who have defended our country since the Civil War. This amphitheater, this place for speeches, is more central to the cemetery than at first might seem apparent. For all we can ever do for our heroes is remember them and remember what they did, and memories are transmitted through words.